Hello! Welcome back to Path of Exile. Well, I've had a change of plans. After discussing things with my legion of dedicated followers, which is to say the 2 or 3 people who follow my series, I've decided to change the nature of things a little bit. It feels a bit wrong to stop everything the moment my first character dies without properly showing off the things that the game has to offer. Oh, hold on a sec. So I've decided that what I'm going to do is, I'm still going to play in hardcore mode. It says hardcore right here. But when my character dies, I'm going to make another with a different build. Well, more like I'm going to have a spare just waiting to step in just in case. So that when a character of mine dies, the build dies with it and I bring something else. Don't worry, there's a ridiculous number of builds available in this game. I doubt I'm going to run out. But you can take bets on how long this particular build is going to last, so maybe that'll be fun. Let me show you how this works. This is a Lightning build. Now, Lightning is, by design, the most fickle and difficult to control, and nothing really represents that quite as well as the Spark spell, which is my main damage and crowd clearing spell. So you fire a bunch of projectiles and they pretty much go wherever they feel like. I don't have a great deal of control over it, except for their starting point. Their damage is listed as 24 to 410. So I could hit with all of the sparks somehow and still not do much damage if my dice rolls are not good. But usually what happens is I run into a big mob, or especially in a confined space, and if I do things right, there's nowhere for the sparks to go except into enemies. And when that happens, they tend to get slaughtered pretty fast. The next thing I want to show off is this spell, the Orb of Storms. It periodically hits nearby enemies, and each time I cast a spell in here, it will get an extra attack. The damage itself is not amazing, but it's a nice supplement, and I use it along with the support gem to cause the shock ailment fairly reliably. That's going to play into one of my auras here, Herald of Thunder. This one passively adds some lightning damage to everything I do, but also if I kill a shocked enemies, it'll kind of trigger and attack nearby things without me having to do anything. I also have Clarity because it pretty much doubles my mana regen. And this is Arc. It's a more directed attack in case I run into a situation where Spark is not really a good idea. It's also fairly reliable for adding shock and triggering my Herald of Thunder. The curse that I have is Conductivity for those stubborn enemies. And finally, Tempest Shield. Now, this is a skill which is kind of a counterattack. If I block something, it triggers with a fairly nasty attack that can also chain to 1 or 2 more enemies. And more importantly, it also increases my block chance a little bit. I plan to take further advantage of that in the skill tree. It's also worth mentioning that both spells and more conventional attacks can be blocked, so it could be a life-saving boost. Oh yeah, and for mobility, I still have Flame Dash. Granted, it's not a lightning skill, but Lightning Warp is trickier and it takes more time to use, and I often cannot afford that, as demonstrated last time. Well, that was a lot of describing, so let's see this stuff in action. I believe there was a Harbinger around here. Hello there. I must have run off. But here's a good opportunity. Let's claim this essence thing. Ooh. Alright, I guess that worked well enough. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to trigger my Herald against that sub-boss, but whatever. Ideally, what happens is I put the Orb of Storms down, people rush in, and I trigger it a lot to shock something which promptly dies. I'd like to think that I have enough backup strats so that I can survive even if that particular trick doesn't work out. Woohoo! So, that was a fight in a confined space, which, as you saw, is pretty good for Spark. As for my passives, well, they're kind of all over the place. I'm going for Energy Shield as my main defense, and I'm using Mind over Matter to help increase my damage resistance a little bit, and there's some nodes behind it that seriously boost my mana as well. But what I want to do is go through the Templar part of the passive tree and get here, where I can increase my block chance and also get some extra element resist. It's kind of a long way to travel, so there's going to be some boring nodes for a while. But there's also some nodes in the Templar portion that are really nice for my build. So I have some high hopes for this. After that, I'm going to go pick up a whole bunch of lightning damage and shock nodes. And if I happen to survive long enough to complete all of that, well, there's more Energy Shield over here. There's, I don't know, I can probably pick up some more lightning somewhere, or cast speed, or whatever. It'll work out. I swear. Well, that looks pretty unpleasant. Now, to complete the optional quest, I should probably explore pretty thoroughly. Because I recall some nice rewards from this particular quest. Oh yeah, and even though it's technically living, kinda, sorta, shooting it does nothing at all. It's called Undying for a reason, I guess. So the place that I really wanted to go underground is not available. We'll figure something out. Oh, something that I hadn't mentioned before is that in addition to skill gems having a particular color depending on whether they're keyed to intelligence or strength or dexterity, elements are also mildly connected to a stat. So, for example, Herald of Fire is a red gem, and there are a lot of fire melee skills, because red is the strength color. And Lightning happens to be the domain of the blue color. Now, this means that I can actually have an easier time finding gear with the correct combinations of nodes, because I pretty much just need all blue. And that's fairly easy to get with gear that's based purely on intelligence. Therefore, I don't have to find as many crazy combinations of slots as I would have with my previous build. Although that isn't to say that color combination builds are not viable. In fact, that's quite the opposite. If you spread out your stats a bit, you can pick up some really nice gear, and the game, in fact, even encourages that to an extent. Hybrid gear, which is to say gear with more than one kind of defense and requires more than one attribute, has a higher total defense than more narrow gear, because the developers know how hard it is to create hybrid characters. It's tough to get exactly what you want. So, I'd say they're both viable. I've definitely seen some really powerful builds that rely on several stats. Right, before I move down this away, I'm going to finish up these energy shield nodes. It shouldn't take too long. Well, let's move on. This place is more out in the open, so Spark is going to have a little bit of a tougher time dealing reliable damage. Well, as reliable as anything Lightning can do in this game. I should have used Conductivity. In fact, Conductivity is my latest addition to my hotkey set, so it's going to take some practice for me to remember to cast it when anything notable appears. Well, since the blockage prevents me from getting where I want to go, I need to figure out either a way around or the tools I need to get through. Also, if you have Herald triggered, the passive lightning thing will also shock things like pots and other breakable things. It's actually kind of fun to watch. It's a video game, of course the statues are going to come to life. Okay then. Well, this build is pretty good for beating large numbers of enemies, and that situation will happen a lot. It has some trouble right now dealing a lot of damage to bosses, and I'm gonna keep an eye out for ways to fix that. Ooh, the catacombs. There's nothing story-related down here. However, oh boy, the final test for the labyrinth is over here. And although I've technically completed it already, I want to show you guys what it's all about. Oh, it's a harbinger. Well, this is a confined space, so have fun. Whoa. Am I being... Okay, yeah, I was definitely being stun-locked there. So, that was pretty reckless of me. I could have easily gotten killed. If any of them had the ability to... Well, never mind. Let's not worry too much.
You there. Let me bend your ear for a moment.
Ooh, this is dangerous. So, this is an NPC that I can do quests for, and this particular guy's quests are basically I fight him and it's a boss fight. And as I said, that's not my character's strong point, so I'm just gonna skip it.
An emperor cannot allow himself to become buried in the shadowed vaults of self-doubt. Cannot allow thoughts of imagined disaster to spin about inside his mind like so many strife-splintered wheels. An emperor navigates his way through the terrors of perplexity with his eyes set firmly on the rising sun.
There's gonna be spinning... Yep, spinning wheels, alright. Yeah, I'm not gonna just jump in there. Oh, well. Problem solved. I kind of like those marks on the floor. They look really natural and they show where the wheels are gonna go. Well, that was unfriendly. This, well, of course, the whole point of this is that it's unfriendly. But I kind of don't like this delay here. Well, I think that takes care of that. But let's advance a little bit more before I call it the end of the video. Story-wise, my character does not know what that thing does, but picking it up right now saves some backtracking later. And I appreciate that the game allows that sort of thing. Drinking Quicksilver is great for your health. Ooh, I like the name of this one. Well, so who's battling who? If I had shown you some talking with the NPCs, you would know already, but since I didn't, these unfortunate soldiers, aside from having to deal with me, are trying to invade a temple called, I believe, the Solaris Temple. Because in that temple is someone who is effectively immortal and definitely not quite sane, who is kind of an artifact from the time of the Oriath Empire, hundreds of years ago. And this person has access to all sorts of interesting toys that, of course, the Blackguards and Piety want to get their hands on. But to get to her, they have to get through her combat ribbons. And, it's hard to, well, hold on, let me deal with this. It's hard to say exactly, but, apparently these ribbons are especially vicious constructs when dealing with people who are not player characters. They've been known to cut people to, well, ribbons. So I think that particular temple sounds like fun, and that'll be the next big objective, which I'm going to cover in, of course, the next video. Before I do that, I'm going to take a look around for... Flame Dash is great. For another key item to get ahead of time. Should be around this way. Oh yeah, she's hexproof, of course. Two silver coins. Very nice. Uh-oh. It's a strong box. Right, let's not make the same mistake we made last time. Let's be really careful and have a plan of escape. So this is guarded by... Whoa! Hello there. Good thing I took my time. So, guarded by a rogue exile, that means I'm probably gonna be chased by someone who is very unfriendly. And I will need to have my conductivity in memory. Okay. Whoa! So, this rogue exile has been shooting at me. That explains a lot. Oh, something to pin me in place even. And he must have triggered that something because I don't recall what else could have killed him. Also, that's a lot of unique enemies. Alright, in this huge pile, is there anything that I can use? Well, giant life flask maybe? But I don't see any intelligence keyed armor. That's kind of a problem. The wand I have is quite nice because it adds some extra lightning damage to spells as well. Well, there's all these bows. Oh well. You don't always get what you're looking for. Well, and all that, and I didn't even make it to the story item yet, so I better finish that off. So, unlike most self-buffs... Oh, nice. Unlike most self-buffs, Tempest Shield is cast manually and does not reserve mana. It doesn't actually last that long, though. On the other hand, having that mana available is quite nice. So that's what Spark does. What you just saw right there. It works pretty well.
Life is too precious to waste on you.
Well, that worked out. I think that's a good place to end the video. Whew. I believe I missed one of the 3 platinum busts in the sewers. I'll do that off screen. But I'll show you the quest results, I promise. Until then, I will see you next time.